I'm Richard Lewitt. I'm the Deputy Mayor of the Village of Rhinebeck. Gary Bassett, the mayor, sends his greetings. He could not be here today. He had a medical appointment.
We're really happy to be here. The Northern Dutchess Alliance is something that's near and dear to us. It's a group of towns in the northeast corner of our county, and we work together. We work together because we have commonalities, and we have things that distinguish us. But together, we're a brand. We complement each other, and that's what we believe in government here. You have the town and village standing before you because we work together for the good of our residents. We work with the county, we work with the state. It's a natural partnership here. I see many people from the towns in this alliance, and we share information, we share resources for the good of our towns and the whole area.
I'd just like to second what Elizabeth said. Also like to thank the Beak for a lovely morning. This is obviously 200 plus years of excellent branding has kept this institution alive. I do want to reiterate what Elizabeth said about the town and the village being together, and this is more than simply symbolic. We really have been working together quite hard, and that is reaping benefits for us, both in terms of efficiency for our taxpayers, and also our visibility. We have here in the village, we're putting in some electric vehicle charging stations. We're working on a grant for that into Village Hall. And we see that actually as a bit of branding for the area, right? This is a destination. If you have an e-car, you have an environmentally friendly car, then we have a place for you to come, park it, and charge it, and come and enjoy our village. This is an example of the sort of innovation that the town and the village, when we're working together, can put forward. We are very much aware that we are connected not only to each other, but to Dutchess County and the surrounding areas, and we look forward to working with people.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. My name is Melody Moore, and I am the Vice President of the Northern Dutchess Alliance. I appreciate your energy and your willingness to come out. It is the second Wednesday in February. It is going to snow. This is a record that we've had for a number of years. We get you out here, and then we send you away, and then the snow comes. So thank you all for coming. Everybody in the room is important, but let me start out by recognizing some of our elected officials. Harry Colgan was supposed to be here, but I don't think Harry has arrived. Susan Erzadi, is she here? Susan, thanks for coming. Sarah Imboden, Sarah's here. Bill Jeffway, Town of Milan councilperson. Brennan Carney from the Town of Rhinebeck. Brad Kendall is here from the county. Where's Brad? Thanks for coming, Brad. Richard Lewitt, you've been introduced to Richard and to Elizabeth. Sue McCann, has she arrived from Red Hook? Michael Dean. Michael Dean here from the Dean Mar. That happens to Bill Jeffway too. It comes out as Jeff Billway all the time. Ray Oberly, where's the stalwart Ray Oberly? Thanks for coming out. Greg Pulver, Chairman of the Legislature. Greg, thanks for coming. We were expecting Aileen Rohr. I don't see Aileen. Oh, it's those Hyde Park people. You know, it's too far to come in the snow. Sue Serino, where's Sue? And Sue's here. Thanks, Sue. Joel Tyner, I see Joel is in the room. And Mary Kay Verba is here from tourism. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your support. And as I said, everybody else in the room is important. We have people. Oh, who am I missing?
Charlie Lane from the village of Red Hook.
Sorry, Charlie, did I miss you?
We have the village assembly here, so maybe.
Great. Nice to have you all here. Sorry if I missed some. I will not forget it. Certainly not forget it. We have let's see, about a year or so ago, a little over a year ago, we went around and we met with all of the elected officials in the Northern Dutchess Alliance area, and we talked to you about what your needs were and what you were interested in and what you were looking for. Many of you talked about branding the area. It came up repeatedly in our conversations with all of the elected officials. And so we took your comments seriously, and we thought about it for a while, and we realized that we personally, the officials of the Northern Dutchess Alliance, don't know much about branding. We thought before we took the project any further, maybe we should take the time to bring in someone who does know branding. So joining us today is Jonathan Nettelfield of Vox Inc. He has had lots of experience in this field, and he's got lots he's going to tell us. Just a few brief facts about him. He's worked in his career in many different industries, and I love the comparison here. He's worked from health and wellness to beer and wine. So I think that's a great combination and really shows the range of his experience and his skills. In terms of regional branding, he branded the walkway, so he's familiar with Dutchess County and familiar with the area, and he's currently working to brand the arts and culture as a feature in Rockland County. Throughout his career, he has received numerous awards and industry recognition for his achievements. In addition to his professional accomplishments, he's also an award-winning and published photographer. Help me welcome Jonathan.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me, and good morning, everyone. This weekend, actually, I went to see a film called 12 Strong. It's about the early days of the war in Afghanistan after 9/11. And this leads me to say that I'm extremely pleased this morning to be talking to a group that has the word Dutchess in between Northern Alliance. Because if I were talking to the Northern Alliance, it would be a completely different kind of presentation. Okay. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about branding in general and try and bring it down as much as I can to the situation here in Northern Dutchess County. It's a huge subject. I've just sort of touched certain points of it, and I could spend all day talking about this. Hopefully this will help you understand a little bit more about what a brand is and also how it might apply here. So starting off is, what is a brand? Well, yeah, it's one of those things. It started off as a mark of ownership. It was first used as a registration, and the legal business had more interest in brands. It's a way of asserting ownership. So it was essentially a legal entity, but today it means much, much more. So today, brands can be represented by icons. Who doesn't know what this is? Call it out. Starbucks. Correct. And the next one. Apple. Mercedes. Shell. Ah, very good. So here's a trick. This was a trick one. Actually, this is the only brand mark that is never used by itself. It's always with the word Rolex. But many cases, brands actually, you just know the symbol, and it's a quick way of communicating what it is. Brands can also be represented by slogans. Very good. Very good. Avis, very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Or, by names and symbols and brands. So, some well-known brands are, they're instantly recognizable by their name and brand mark. So these are all brands, but actually none of these are today what we mean by a brand. A brand is more than a symbol or a trademark. It's a narrative that is shared by groups or individuals with a common accumulation of experiences. So I think of a brand, it has a story. And the story is the same story interpreted by lots of different people, but essentially they're receiving that story by themselves. In other words, it's what it means to them. Brands imbue their audiences with meaning. And quite often, it has a very close personal relationship. So the strongest brands are those with a strong, close personal relationship. Now, I could spend an hour just talking about this, and so I will have to move on. But before I do, one of the things about a brand, talking about close personal relationships, one of the things we do in brand workshops is play a little game. And actually on the table in the front of you, in the middle of you, there are some little slips of paper. And we ask people, what are your 5 most important brands to you as a person? And if you would just grab one of those pieces of paper and fill in what you think are the 5 most important brands to you as a person, and just leave them on the table, and I'll pick them up when I've finished. And important is your own interpretation of that. It can mean the one that you interact with the most. It can mean the one that you have the greatest emotional connection to. And to help you, I'm going to give you mine. So my 5 brands, and they change, but yesterday morning they were these. Volvo. Okay, my family has had Volvos since the 1960s. I think as a car maker, they understand me and my needs the best. So I have this very, link with Volvo. The next one is the BBC. Okay, I'm English. But I think that their programming, and especially the news, I mean, I've grown up with that too. It's been there all my life, often far away from, Britain. But the programming and the news is something I deeply trust. And I listen to it every day, or I watch some of it every day. So again, it's an important brand to me. The next one is a brand that I have a love-hate relationship, and that is Apple. It rules my life. Work, business, play, photographs, music, everything. But it is a very, very important brand. And I was one of the very first early adopters when everyone sort of looked at you and said, you're crazy buying an Apple. Why don't you buy a PC like everybody else? So I feel as though I've had this link with Apple because I put myself out there in the early days and now it's paying back. The next one I have is LL Bean. I don't think there is anything that I can't buy, wear, or put in my house or go camping with that I can't buy there. And I think it has an enormous credibility. I have strong affinity because when I buy something from there, leaving aside that shipping is free, I really trust it. So again, that's an important brand to me. And the last one is kind of an odd one, but it's always been in my top 5 list, is Boeing. This is a brand I literally put my life in its hands every time I fly, and I've been flying Boeings ever since I was a kid on 707s. And I do a little thing every time I enter a plane. I touch the door as you go in, and I thank the people who built it. It's just it's a thing. But so these are brands that I personally have. They're important brands to me. So if you wouldn't mind just doing that in the course, and I'll share the results with you if you like. After I'll take them back, and I can through Michelle or Marianne, I can let you know what the group thought. Okay, so going back to brands, dotted through this presentation will be certain insights, and the first insight it is the product or the service or the place that is the brand. A lot of people make the mistake that just sticking a logo or a tagline on something, it doesn't make it a brand. So always bear in mind that the brand is the underlying thing. It's not just the symbols which, reflect a brand. So places are increasingly becoming brands. So you have countries. Okay, what's this country? Yeah, everyone knows it. Good. So what's this country? Right. Right. So believe it or not, there is a thing where countries are ranked as brands. There's actually an organization that ranks countries as brands. And these are the top 3 global brands. And it's not just because they have a nice flag. I mean, the flag is part of it. But they use these symbols everywhere. I mean, in the case of Canada, it's on just about everything. It's on their airlines. It's a universal symbol for Canada. And not that I'm going to talk about it now, but they also have a typography that is very identifiable. They do a really, really good job branding their country. Likewise, Japan, and Switzerland even puts it on knives. So, I mean, these symbols are recognizable and linked to their countries. So these are strong brands. Regardless of what they are as countries, they're very strong brands. Likewise, cities are brands, okay?
London.
Yeah. Any more other than Brooklyn? Hong Kong, yeah. This one.
Mecca.
Yes, one of the strongest brands in the world. Maybe not here, but to billions of people around the world, Mecca is a very, very strong brand. And then let's hear it for Lady Liberty. So cities, I'll to talk about that later. Regions are brands as well. So Cape Cod, this is the Chamber of Commerce, but again, different entities can use different brands in different ways. This is how the Chamber of Commerce. One of the best known regional brands, I think, in America is Napa Valley. We're always using it as an example, and other people are always using it to me as an example. So that's one. More locally, the Catskills. They have their own branding. Florida Keys as a separate part, as a distinct entity from the rest of Florida. Although, if you notice now, Florida is one of the most branded states in the country. It seems like every entity, every part of Florida is divvied up and is becoming its own brand, much of it on television at this time of the year. But my question is, are these brands or just places with high awareness? This is a kind of a thing. So the second insight I want to offer today is it's much easier to create a brand if you already have high awareness. So now I want to talk a little bit, and this is going to be very superficial because we don't have time to develop any of these things in great depth, but I've just listed some conditions that I think are necessary to create a place brand. So the first of these would be geographical conformity. It's not much use having a brand if you're a bit over here. There has to be some kind of geographical conformity. Next, a real difference from other places nearby. You can't stand out if you're like everywhere else. There has to be some difference. And linked to that, something nice. People, there has to be something around. So in my other life, in a very long time ago in another continent, I used to work for a chap called Rosser Reeves, who in the advertising business is quite famous because he developed a thing called the USP, unique selling proposition. And that was something that you took from a brand and made it the centerpiece of everything that you did talking about that brand. It was something that was unique to that brand. It sold it. In other words, what is it? It melts in your mouth, not in your hands. These were ideas that distinguished your brand from other products that might be the same. So I think that a place also needs a USP. Interestingly, we're working with the folks over in Rockland County, and the discussion in Nyack, which is not a dissimilar town to Rhinebeck in size and things, all I say. One of the ideas there is to, build it around Edward Hopper, who's born. The Hopper House is one of the most sought after, the most visited entities there. And the fact that he was born and worked there for some of his life is, so it's not all of Nyack, but it is unique to Nyack. So I think something nice and a difference. This is terribly important, and coming here today, I think you've already probably done it, but if you don't have buy-in from the people who are the stakeholders, you don't have the conditions really to start it up. And last, and certainly not least, patience and consistency. All those brands that we talked about at the beginning have been around for a long time, or have spent a boatload of money on building those brands. And they've all been consistent. They don't change, they don't switch around. So in our experience, by far the greatest hurdle to a successful place brands is patience and consistency. After the initial exciting push, it kind of can be a bit mundane. Keeping a brand alive is not it's not as exciting as launching a brand. I often say that a brand is like a junkie. It needs a constant fix. You can't just coast with a brand. You continually need to work on it. Brand champions move away. People who are the inspiration for brands move on. Community priorities change. New administrations come in and want something new. Seen that. And there are the perennial conflicts between the peace and quiet community and the various commercial communities. So all of these things are not barriers to, but considerations for this patience and consistency requirement that you will need. Yeah, and lastly, they're quite hard to enforce. So you can come up with all kinds of rules and all the rest of it, and then some guy just goes and does what they want to do. So none of which are to stop you doing it, but I'm just saying that these are things that you have to think about. So for the rest of this presentation, I was asked today to give you an insight into how we do it, how it's done. And I'm going to use the example of the walkway. We didn't do the branding for Walkway, I should mention. That was done by somebody else. But when Walkway was so successful, they wanted to create a brand over that brand, and I'll explain a little bit in a minute. So this is a case history of branding a place. So the situation was that the Walkway attracted, actually it was over 500,000 annual visitors, but few people ventured beyond the bridge. They came to the bridge, they walked across it, enjoyed its stunning views, the fresh air and all the rest of it, and then went home. The communities at either end wanted to share the economic benefit, and the Walkway brand was already distinctive and strong. There already was a Walkway brand. So the process that we, and probably everybody else that does this, follow, we divide it into 3 phases. And the first phase, which I think is the most critical, I say that because I'm the one that does it, is investigation. And investigation for the Walkway, now every place is different. I should mention also that branding for every place is unique. So what I'm going to show you for Walkway would not necessarily apply here, but the general principles would. So what we did first of all was individual interviews of over 30 stakeholders. They lasted an hour each. And it was trying to understand needs and wants and thoughts and desires and all the rest of it of the various stakeholders. This was, because it was a big project, we conducted focus groups. We came up with certain branding platforms as a result of the first stage, and came up with some ideas for brand platforms. And we focus grouped them in New York City, because that was the biggest market, but we also ran focus groups on the bridge. We set up tables and chairs on the Walkway itself and hauled in willing participants and conducted focus groups of actual visitors on the bridge. So we got quite a good set of opinions from potential and actual visitors. We also did a quantitative survey of people walking on the bridge. So we actually got some hard numbers. So we got both objective and subjective data. And the outcome of that was reliable empirical data on which to create a strong and relevant brand. So we didn't just say, oh, this will look nice or that'll look nice. It was based on strong empirical data, which is critical. Absolutely, I mean, not just to branding a place, but branding anything. You need to understand what lies beneath. So that the first phase is investigation, and there are various steps in that. The second phase is creation, actually creating the brand. The first sort of part of that, and I'm going to show you what we did, is the branding elements, which from the left was the name. We had to come up with a name. Because there was no entity. We actually came up with the Greater Walkway region, but the state wouldn't allow us to use that because they wanted the word region to be used for tourist region, so we called it the Greater Walkway Experience. So we have, the big logo, and that was done deliberately in a sort of to look like the sort of old industrial, because one of the key findings in the focus groups was how the walkway represented the glory of America's industrial past come back to life again. So part of the logo was to kind of give that look and feel. We came up with a symbol because sometimes you can't use the whole logo, and we came up with a tagline, which was 360 degrees of discovery, which both played to what you see when you're on the bridge itself. You can have a 360-degree view of the Hudson Valley, but also all the way around, there are things to discover. So that was, and there are other elements to the branding, but there's things like a brand statement. There are other things that you need to do, but essentially you come up with the elements of branding, but that's not the brand, as I said. Those are just the brand symbols. The third and most interesting phase is implementation. What do you do with all of that? The first thing that we recommended was a map. And this was something that I think took some people a bit by surprise because they had a map. We just didn't think it was a very good map. We also came up with signage. I'm going to talk about these in more detail as we come. We came up with signage, and there were other elements. So I'm going to take each of these by turn. So this is the walkway map. It's probably not the best way to show it on a screen like that, but it's quite detailed. We came up with the concept of a bird's eye map because we felt that one of the things that you needed to communicate was the beauty of the setting where you were. So one of the ways you do that is it's a bird's eye map. But we also wanted to use it for navigation. The little red dotted lines that you can see are suggested routes for people to walk through, different districts and everything. And we wanted to also show the major points of attraction, the biggest buildings and all the rest of it. The little key down there is some distances so that you can figure out how long it's going to take you to get from one place to another. But the main thing that we did with this map, which you can't really see that clearly on the screen, but you'll see we divided the walkway into 8 what we call discovery zones. It's actually quite a large area. And by the way, the designation of the area was to be one that you could walk or bike around. It's not a vehicle-based tour. It's something because on the walkway you walk. So this is the whole idea of it was to define an area through which you could walk or bike. So we divided up into different so-called discovery zones, which might have been downtown or a historical district or a park or a waterfront or a hamlet, and designated each of those so that people could get a sense of what was there, but also package it into meaningful bite-sized pieces. And our inspiration for that was Disney World. So when you go to the Magic Kingdom, when you go to the Magic Kingdom, it's actually divided. Not that I'm equating to the walkway to the Disney World, but it's divided into sections which are differentiated, so you can take the big and make it more personal in terms of the size and what you can. And I think this might have some implications in your case where you're talking about different communities as being part of a whole. So I'm just going to do a little sidebar now and show you some other maps. I'm going to come back to walkway in a minute. but I want to show you some other maps because this has been an important component of all the work we do. So this was something which is another analog for Northern Dutchess. This is something we did for the Hudson Highlands Fjord Trail, which is the new trail that is connecting, or going to connect in more ways, Cold Spring and Beacon along the shores of the Hudson. And this is also interesting because 4 different municipalities were involved. In addition to Beacon and Cold Spring, there was Fishkill and Phillipstown. So 4 different communities came together to do all of this. And this is basically a map about trails. But it's also, there's a different reason for this map, but it's the same idea in the sense that by creating a bird's eye map, you create sort of the magnificence of the area in a map. So you do 2 things. Another map we did, which was mentioned just a little bit earlier on, is Rockland Culture, which is a whole county. And the point of Rockland Culture is to point out all the cultural assets, theatres, old historic houses, art organization, galleries, things like that, that all exist in Rockland County. And it's a treasure trove of good stuff. So on this map, we've called out all the key elements in Rockland County. And lastly, we do maps for individual towns, villages. This is for Piermont. Now, Piermont wanted to convey its history. They wanted the map to look like an old kind of historical map, hence the earth tones and the kind of look and feel for it. But it also is designed to help visitors navigate around, see what's there. So we think a map, insight number 4, for a region, a visitor map can be the single most important branding element. It provides context, it aids navigation, it prioritizes regional assets. So think about a map as you decide what's in the map. Do you want to show buildings? Do you want to show farms? Do you want to, you can decide because you have total control over what you want to show. So you cherry pick what you show in the map. So the map itself prioritizes your regional assets. It creates drama. So the first thing we did for the walkway was the map, and I think that is an important thing. The next thing is a signage program. So signs welcome visitors, helping them plan. It informs them, and it directs them. And it provides a coherent look and feel for the brand throughout the region. So these were, I'm going to go into these individually, these were a selection of the signs that we did for Walkway. And I emphasize, when I say signs, it's a signage system. Let me talk a little bit about the system. So the first kind of signs are gateway signs. These, I call these a visit planning tool located at places where people arrive. Car parks, railroad stations, waterfront marinas. So this, I don't know what's happened to that thing. This is the gateway sign. So in addition to the map, by the way, it has sponsorship at the bottom, so we get people to pay for the signs. So each of the discovery zones is called out. So when people are standing in front of this, they get a thumbnail of what there is to see. So not only do they see where it is, but on the left-hand side, there's kind of a thumbnail of all the different discovery zones. And this is what it looks like in situ. So that's a discovery zone sign. So these are all located, as I said, at places where we expect people to arrive. The next kind of signs are what we call discovery zone signs. These are interpretive signs at key locations to add interest and value. And here are a couple of the discovery zone signs and what they look like. And here's one in location. So for Greater Walkway experience, we located these at entry points to all of the locations. So they had already seen the gateway sign where they parked the car or left the train, and then as they were walking through the various places, when they entered a new discovery zone, they were met with a sign which helped interpret them and guide them. There's a map there through the discovery zone. Of course, interpretive signs can be used in many other ways, such as historical markers and things like that. The last kind of sign are directional signs, and these obviously help direct visitors to predetermined locations. And in our case, they were color-coded. All of the discovery zones had a color code, so that, again, you could, rather like the metro subway station, you could see all by the color as well as the name what the sign was. And here's an example of what they look like in situ. This is how not to do signs. A thing we call Sign-Mageddon. And I don't mean to beat up on Cold Spring. They've actually removed this when I showed it to them. But often signs, often signs are just like throwaways. They're junk. They shouldn't be. And this brings me to my final and fifth insight. Signage can be the most important branding element, gluing the region into a single brand. So if you have signs throughout a region, the thing that's going to say, aha, I'm in this place, are the signs. So, you've got many different locations to reinforce a single identity. Appreciated by visitors and residents. One of the great learnings we had when we started off with Walkway, but it's everywhere else, is when we start putting up these signs, the residents appreciate them as much as the visitors. It gives them civic pride. I don't know how else to say it, but it's a good thing. And frankly, it's still a low bar to achieve compared to most places. I mean, most places don't have signs, and they're not very good. So if you put up, if you do a good signage program, it's still unexpected. I mean, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, maybe everyone's competing to put up better signs, but we're not at that place yet. So it's a low barrier to entry. But most signage erected by municipalities, organizations, and private-public partnerships are designed to reflect the needs of those entities. It's you need to approach signage as though you were addressing the needs of customers, and not as ego. It's a bit fierce this Friday. Not as ego projects for civic-minded organizations. So often signs are full of who paid for them, who put them up, there's just a ton of stuff, and it's like we want our logo here. We want it's a way of asserting ownership of something. And you have to get out of that mentality and look at signs as though you were talking to customers. And the last point is take a hard look at all existing signs before putting up new ones. We have a mantra at the agency. It's just for every sign we put up, we want you to take down at least one. Because over-signing is just a bad thing for everybody. So, other branding elements, things like websites. The last thing I want to show, if this technology works and I want to finish, is we made a film. We thought that, again, for the walkway, that one of the best ways to show the walkway would be from the air. So we got a guy with a drone and spent, about a week filming various things, and we put it together. And made a film. Now, I'm going to show you a short film now. The film that we have, it's about nearly 5 minutes long. It's kind of a languid, leisurely stroll throughout. It's got nice slow music. It's got a lot of titles that tell you what you're looking at and stuff like that. But we also cut a short version of the film and put it to a soundtrack for occasions like this where we only had a minute and a half. So I'm going to show you that film. So, in this digital age, you can do a lot with video. I think I'm not going to just unplug this. So that concludes what I wanted to say and prepared, but I hope there's time for anyone who wants to ask any questions. I'm going to send this presentation to you so you can send it around, because particularly the maps and stuff, it's easier to see in a better way than on the screen. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
How long do you think it would be a process? Is it 1 month or 1 year?
Okay, so Walkway from start to finish, and it was our first, took probably, by the time the signs were actually up, and it's an ongoing process, probably 2 years. So the investigation phase typically lasts about 2 to 3 months, depending on how extensive it is. I mean, if you're going to do focus groups, that's a month right there. Getting people together for interviews and all the rest of it. Our work in terms of branding could be done quite quickly. I mean, a month. Making a map, we've never done a map for under less than 6 months. Map is the hardest thing to do. Not because it's hard to do, but it's the number of people who comment on it and who are always right. I mean, people, so you get many revisions. A typical map from start to finish, I say never allow less than 3 months, and quite often it'll take twice that. In terms of designing signs and stuff like that, again, we can do that quite quickly. I should also mention what I didn't show you is we create a plan. Designing signs is one thing, but knowing where those signs should go and how they should work as a system, that requires us to go out into the field, talk to people, assess what there is, how people operate. I mean, so creating a sign plan, I mean, some of this stuff can be done, at the same time, but creating a sign plan is typically a 2 to 3 month process. I will say, and I'm putting a little commercial, we tend to move quicker than most people that I've met, because we're a very small, tight organization. We don't have large layers of bureaucracy and everything to worry about. But it does, with a community group, it does take longer, because it just takes longer to get everybody together.
Regarding the sign plan, can you kind of just touch on the highlights of what a sign plan includes?
Oh, very simple. I brought one with me, so a hard copy of it. I bought the one for the fjord trail, so I can actually show you what it looks like. But essentially, it is a group of pictures. We go out, take photographs of all the places, and we stick a pretend sign in there, so you kind of see. And then we put maps there, so you can see where all the signs are relative to actual places. And they're divided by whatever the type of signs we want to put up, but typically gateway signs, interpretive signs of some kind, or directional signs. And in your case, directional signs would be pretty important.
So you scope out the location?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
When you do a project like this, is there a committee created to oversee that?
Very good question.
I'm feeling
Yes.
The danger for
Yeah.
a lot of subjectivity in what someone might say that was so moving, and
Yes.
someone else may say that felt like a cheesy Carnival Cruise, manipulative brand. That's the danger with branding.
Yeah.
And I think particularly for all of us,
Yes.
we know what we have here.
Right.
But we do not want to get cheesy, and when you see a bunch
Right.
of manipulative Disneyland stuff by some slick ad guys,
Mm-hmm.
it's a turn.
No, I'm with you. So the most potent advice I can give you is you create a committee, not more than, I'm going to say, 6 or 7 people, who are entrusted by the larger committee to oversee the branding and the signage. And that committee, from time to time, reports back to the larger group, either through us or whoever you work with, to make sure that you're on track. But you're completely right that if you get into and every single project we've done does. So, let's not pretend that it doesn't exist. If you get into subjective wishes and all the rest of it, then it can be difficult. The one thing I will say is that the branding process should squeeze all of that out at the beginning. We never move until we have an agreed creative brief. Does the creative brief say, we're going to enhance the agricultural nature of the area? Or is it going to be that we're going to, highlight every new hotel that was built in the last 5 years? The silly examples. But the creative brief determines, and then we judge the creative on that brief. So it's not subjective at that point; it's objective. So yeah, there are. And the other thing I would say is that there are lots, in some cases too many, checkpoints in the process. One thing that we are very firm on, we as an agency, is once you've decided, you can't go back. So, a decision is a decision. Because if you create the branding and you're on making maps and you're making signs and all the rest of it, and someone says, well, I don't really like the logo. I mean, we could start again, but it's not terribly efficient. Yeah.
First of all, it was a pleasure working with you on that project and enlightening.
Yes.
And second of all, the focus groups that we did in New York
Yeah.
City. How did you choose those people?
Okay, so focus groups are an art and a science. So what we do is we contract with a focus group company. First of all, you need a location. Focus groups focus group companies have these facilities where you have rooms with one-way mirrors and kitchens and viewing galleries and all this kind of thing. So you need a place to have them. But you also contract with them to get the people in the group. So you specify, you give them a brief, and you say, we want 5 groups or whatever it is you want. You want, one group that is men between 25 and 40, and another one of, women from 25 to 40. You want another group of people who've never heard of the walkway. You want some people who've heard of it but don't. So you specify. They then go out. That's what you pay them for. It's not inexpensive. They go out and find these people, and then they assemble them. And then a moderator, me in our case, goes in, and you conduct a structured conversation. You decide how you want the conversation to go, but not, of course, what is said. And it's a really interesting process. And one of the things that the good folks from Walkway found out is they actually came and listened to the groups. They were in the rooms in the back, observing them. And I think many of them learnt a lot of stuff about the Walkway directly from people. So it's a good thing to do.
Is the idea the brand is going to be Northern Dutchess County?
Don't know.
I mean, in other words, is that the region we're talking about?
That's up for you to decide. In other words, we take a brief. So one of the things I haven't done is tell you what I think, because that requires me to actually go out and do the work to, what I think is immaterial at this point. I can tell you what I think about other places because I've done the work.
So we haven't decided what the geographic area is for the brand.
In the same way that Walkway, the Greater Walkway Experience, hadn't decided, do we include Hyde Park? Do we include, So no, that's all part of the process.
I didn't know
Yeah.
where we were at yet.
I'm not sure. Do you need to cut me off? Because whenever, yes.
I think we're going to have to wind up
Okay.
now because we're trying to beat this hour. Thank you so much. Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, God. Well, that was so exciting. It's very hard to focus on the next item on the agenda, but I do have the pleasure of conducting the business meeting portion of the agenda. And don't worry, there's only one item on the agenda for this, and that is the election of the officers for the Northern Dutchess Alliance. We have Mary Ann Johnson for president, Melody Moore for vice president, and Ray Oberly for treasurer. So you see we've rounded up the usual suspects. We do have a vacancy for secretary. I know how popular that position is, so you could start forming the line here if you're interested. Do I have a motion for the election of the officers? Do I have a second? All in favor? Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Melody. Thank you.
I I have the pleasure this morning of presenting the Commitment to Community Award. This award is for the person or organization who has consistently demonstrated a long-term devotion and dedication to their community. The award represents leadership in achieving community goals and for fostering regional cooperation. Past winners of this award include Senator Stephen Saland for his work on creating the Hudson Valley Greenway, and Sally Mazzarella, who unfortunately is not here today, for her work on planning issues in Rhinebeck and the Winnicke Land Trust. There are some other folks on the list. Let me run down them. Sid and Beth Mead, the Pace Land Use Law School, Sam Simon of Hudson Valley Fresh, Mark Molinaro, Noreen Riley, Rhinebeck, Red Hook, and Hyde Park Chambers, Jay Winthrop Aldrich, Phyllis Fader, Northern Dutchess Hospital. There's some folks here today from the hospital. Drayton Grant, Dutchess Land Conservancy in Winnicke, both represented here today. Bard College, also some folks here, Dave Teeter, Lori Husted. And today we're honoring Dr. George Verrilli. Dr. Verrilli, would you like to come up? Dr. Verrilli has a long and legendary history of contributions to the local community. And he's very charming. He is the creator of the Newgarden Family Birth Center at the Northern Dutchess Hospital, which has since been used as a model for the birthing department of many hospitals throughout the region and beyond. He resurrected the old Baker's Chocolate Factory in the town and village of Red Hook and transformed it into a thriving local business hive with unique office and retail spaces. He is the founder of Eastgate Motors, which he describes as a showroom, museum, clubhouse open to anyone with a keen interest in cars. Many of the cars from Dr. Verrilli's extensive personal collection have been donated over the years to drive local dignitaries to special events. Most recently, in 2015, Dr. Verrilli purchased a former school on Fisk Street in the town of Red Hook and donated the building as an all-inclusive community center to foster opportunities for personal and collective growth in the community. The community center, which opened last year, has already been visited with more than 10,000 times by residents throughout Dutchess County and beyond. And over the course of his career, he has also delivered 15,129 babies.
No, that's not true. I assisted at the birth. I haven't pushed out a baby yet.
I stand corrected. Whoever gives me these talking points. Today, we honor Dr. Verrilli for his numerous contributions to the Northern Dutchess community, in particular for his vision and generosity in the creation of the Red Hook Community Center. I know there are some folks here from the legislature and Susurino and others with citations, so if you would like to join me with Dr. Verrilli with those citations.
Yes, sir, let me help.
There's an old sandwich in there.
Yeah, I know, there's a lot of stuff going on in here. Here we go. Sorry, I put them in there so they'd be handy. That's for Dr.
Ta-da! Who wants to hold my hand? Anybody? What else are we doing?
On behalf of the Dutchess County Executive, we have a citation for you, and it's my pleasure as chairman of the Dutchess County Legislature to present you with a.
Well, I am very much honored.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
Please.
service.
And I know that as we age, I'm in my 89th year, that we go up and then we go out. So this is part of the up and out process. And I'm taking it in good spirit. But I really wanted to ask Mr. Nettelwood, what would be his brand for me as a gynecologist? Huh?
I wouldn't touch you with a barge pole.
There you go. So.
Dr. Verrilli, on behalf of Congressman Faso, Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition for your commitment to the community.
Well, tell John I appreciate that, and I appreciate his work in our community and so forth.
Hi, Dr. Verrilli.
Hi,
I
sweetie.
really like your sense of humor.
Well, if you were with me in labor, you know that it goes away. All I do is say, push.
That's one powerful word. And here's a certificate of recognition from the state senate as well. And I sit next to Senator Larkin, who just turned 90 the other day. Yes, so, but this is
I
great.
took
So
care of
thank you.
I shouldn't say that, that's a violation of HIPAA, but I took care of a member of his family, and he was a rusty old codger way back then.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you
and
very
well-deserved.
much, and I thank you all for your recognition and for pushing me up and out, and thanks again. I'm not going to bore you because we old geezers, when we get started, it goes on forever. Thanks again.
Well, this is certainly a tough act to follow with all these people here today. I have the pleasure of, hey Mel, do you have that description? Giving out the Charting Our Course Award, which we like to refer to as our Windshield Award. Oh no, I have that. Hang on. There we go. This is like one big family here in Northern Dutchess, so when you screw up a little, nobody's too upset with you. So Charting Our Course is the award for the person or organization that has provided a regional vision consistent with the Northern Dutchess Alliance mission, or has partnered with members of the Northern Dutchess in pursuing their organizational goals. Past winners include the Dutchess County Environmental Management Council for their efforts to provide communities with natural resource information, and Sustainable Hudson Valley for their work in enhancing local economies. We have a long list of winners. I'll just name a few of them. Dutchess County Tourism, I know Mary Kay is here today. They've done great work. The Omega Institute, the Dutchess County Ag Society, the Dutchess County Planning Federation, and today we are giving the award to the Dutchess County Transportation Council, who is represented by Mark DeBald. Also very happy to give this award to Mark. Mark and I went to grad school together. We are Albany alums, so go Great Danes.
Oh, thank you.
Hang on to the windshield, it's glass. The Dutchess County Transportation Council is a federally funded regional organization that is responsible for comprehensive multimodal transportation planning in Dutchess County. It's quite a mouthful, Michelle. It provides a forum for state and local officials to coordinate transportation issues and reach consensus on transportation planning and funding. The council adopted the current 25-year plan, Moving Dutchess 2, in 2016, continuing a 30-year tradition of transportation planning in Dutchess County. The Moving Dutchess plan addresses all of the key components of the transportation system: roads, bridges, transit, sidewalks, trails, and bicycle facilities, as well as park and ride facilities and freight activity. For the 10 municipalities that comprise the Northern Dutchess Alliance, the plan includes numerous recommendations for alternative transportation, enhancing the safety of bicycling through the construction of trails and paved road shoulders, improving walkability by installing sidewalks, high visibility crosswalks, curb extensions, and other pedestrian-friendly streetscape elements, and enhancing public transportation. A few of the council's recent accomplishments in Northern Dutchess area include the Upper Route 9G Corridor Management Plan in the town of Red Hook by Bard College. Those of us who live in Red Hook certainly appreciate that. Pedestrian plans for the village of Rhinebeck and the town of Hyde Park. Road safety assessments of North Quaker Lane in the town of Hyde Park and Slate Quarry Road in the town of Rhinebeck. And the replacement of bridges in the town of Clinton and the village of Tivoli. Although you did make a few members of my family late for their dentist appointment in Tivoli.
Yes.
What do you mean the bridge is out, you know? Whether they're scoring pavement conditions, collecting traffic counts, analyzing speeding patterns, creating trail systems, or evaluating proposed projects against the standards for complete streets, the Dutchess County Transportation Council is literally charting our course. Congratulations. We also have a few citations. For those who have citations, come on up.
Again, on behalf of Dutchess County, thank you very much.
Yes. Great, thank you very much. Wonderful. I'm not used to this.
Mark, thank you. And I want to say a personal thank you to Mark. You are always so responsive. We had a blind gentleman that needed the sound increased on the crosswalk, and you took care of it, and it was just great. Always a pleasure doing business with you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We also have a citation from Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett, who was not able to be here today. And Dr. Verley, I have one for you as well. You're not done. Would you like to say something?
Oh, sure. Well, thank you very much. I was pleasantly surprised when Ray called me up about a month ago to say that we're going to receive this award. As civil servants, sometimes, I don't want to say we feel that we're taken for granted, but it's nice to be recognized. This is kind of unfamiliar territory for us because, you know, by our nature, we're here to serve the public and our communities. We'll say just two themes for the Transportation Council in recent years is one, building consensus for identifying various priorities for our local communities, especially within Northern Dutchess. We've done a variety of pedestrian plans, the high-end speeding analysis, the corridor plans, various transportation projects and plans. The theme for us has always been trying to build consensus, and that can be difficult with a variety of different stakeholders, whether it's New York State DOT, County Public Works, local communities, the general public, various agencies, what have you. Sometimes it's difficult to get the 100% solution for a particular situation, but we do strive to get that 90% solution, and sometimes that works well. And the second theme really for our organization is providing some resources to our local communities. We understand a lot of the towns and villages don't have large staffs, they don't have planning departments, they can't get those resources. So one thing we've strived to do in the recent years is to serve these local communities, either analyzing data and just bringing our expertise in any variety of transportation planning down to bear to local communities so we can help them out. So this is a pleasure. This is actually this is very rewarding. It's always rewarding working with the communities, but this is especially nice for us because it's not often that we are recognized for our work. And so I would like to say that we have been around for 35 years officially. Back in '82 we were formed. So I will accept this award for all the past staff members for the Transportation Council, which includes Keely Solomon, Owen Rafter, Jennifer Gakoza from the County Planning Department, all our interns, and anyone and all the communities that have worked with us over the years. So thank you very much.
Before Marianne gives the closing remarks, I just wanted to extend a hearty thank you to Jonathan for coming up from the South to speak with us today and presented such an exciting presentation. I just thought it was really, really very fascinating and interesting and wonderful. I went out with Jonathan for dinner last night, and I can tell you he would be an awful lot of fun to work with. He's very knowledgeable and very, very funny. And I did learn something extremely interesting about him. His family, many generations ago in England, founded the breed Labrador Retriever. Okay, they actually created that breed. So he's got a lot of creative genes in his background. So thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you.
I have a lab mix. I'm not sure if I should thank you or curse you because he likes to sleep. He not only likes to sleep in the bed, he likes to sleep on you in the bed. So, I just wanted to say thank you to a few people who make this meeting possible. First of all, I'd like to start with all of you for being here today and representing your communities so well. Without you, then there's no reason to have a Northern Dutchess Alliance. I also want to thank our resident Canadian who represents Canada so well, Michelle Gregg. Michelle was responsible for pulling this entire event together, and she did a terrific job. I'd also like to thank Ray Oberly. Ray is the master of collecting the reservations and making sure that we've collected the money, et cetera, so thank you, Ray, for doing that. Way to go. I'd like to thank the Beekman Arms. You know, when we have this event in the winter, it's challenging. They are always gracious enough to give us a date and a snow date. So fortunately, we were able to pull it off, and I don't think it's snowing yet. It's a little bit, all right. So we'll just keep moving along. to thank Father Fred Cartier, our videographer back there. Fred and I go way back, and he's always gracious enough to come back from Mexico in February so he can be here to film this, so thank you, Fred. I would also like to thank Jonathan for sharing his experience with us. That was terrific information. I think he's given us all a lot to think about. Mark Adams raised some great questions here, like what is it going to be? What are we going to do? Maybe, are we going to do it? Those are all very good questions. And lastly, I'd like to thank Mickey Strawinski. Mickey, could you stand for a second? Mickey served her community well for a number of years. She is the previous past president, and she did a terrific job in this organization, so we just wanted to recognize that. I just want to take a couple minutes to say we look forward to keeping this process moving along. I would ask that each of you today stay in touch with us. It could be something as simple as letting us know about someone in your community, like Dr. Verrilli, who maybe you would like to honor through the Northern Dutchess Alliance. We would love to hear about that. For our elected officials in the room, please know we're going to be reaching back out to you directly. Mayor Joel, you had some great insights on, what, if we're going to do a branding, what should it be? And we need to hear from you so we can keep Northern Dutchess distinct and different and the place that we all clearly love to live in. We know that you all are busy doing your daily work of running your town or village, and doing these extra projects, maybe you don't have the time for it. I think that's where the Northern Dutchess Alliance brings some value. We can step in, we can help coordinate, we could be on that steering committee, and we can move projects forward like the branding project. In the past, we did a blueprint for economic development. We did some shared services, and each one of those projects has had some impact in the region. We need to hear from you, and we'd like to continue to work with you. So again, thank you for all of that. I believe that the Alliance was created as a way for Northern Dutchess community to collectively represent the best that each community has to offer. We can only do that when we have one of you sitting around the table with us. We'd love to have someone from your communities join us at our executive committee meetings. You will find it interesting, enjoyable, and you may even make a few friends. I made a new friend, Lenny Miller. He's my friend. And that relationship has been invaluable. I don't know if any of you have had his sangria, but it's lovely. So I'm going to let everybody go. I'm going to just remind you, please check our website. We have a new website, a new tagline. The new tagline is creating opportunities together. Please think about that. Please stay in touch. Drive safe. Yes?
What is the URL?
northernduchess.org. www.northernduchess.org. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.